Okay, welcome to Speak Up Africa. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Speak Up Africa, where we aim to inform, engage, and empower the youth. So, my name is Salome Washuka from Speak Up Africa, and today we'll be discussing about youth and democracy. And I am joined by my colleague, Miss Diana, who I will give a moment to introduce herself, and then we can delve into the topic for today.
Hi everyone, my name is Diana Kataka and I deal with the communication part in Speak Up Africa. And today we will be discussing the relationship between the youth and democracy itself. Yes, Sally?
Okay, sorry, I think I lost you for a minute there. So I think we can now delve into the topic about youth and democracy. And I think I'd first start by defining, the main barriers that prevent youth from effectively engaging in democracy. I think at this point we all know what democracy is, but are the youth really participating in democracy? I will say no. So Diana, what do you think are the main barriers that prevent the youth from, effectively engaging in democracy?
Yes, so I believe that the youth mostly are affected by systematic barriers, and this includes limited access to like quality education, economic opportunities, and political exclusion. And this eventually, they're politically excluded just due to age-related matters, and this just makes it makes them encounter like not a form of rage, but then the fact that they're already excluded doesn't want them to be even more involved because they already feel like they've been set apart from the rest. So that for me are among the barriers that are making the youth and democracy not necessarily align, especially because if you look at it, our government is mostly filled with people who are a bit elderly, so they don't see the point of having the youth there, and the youth, since they're already feeling excluded, they don't feel the point of even being there because they just don't see the point of it. They feel like they've already been segregated, and that makes them want to stay further away rather than be included.
Okay, I will personally add that I feel sometimes as the youth of Kenya, we are always called upon to be more active in politics, to participate in democratic processes such as voting. But at the same time, we need somebody to break it down for us. We need people to guide us, like how exactly do we go about this? Because I believe so many people out here actually want to participate in these processes. They want to take part in making a change, but um, they're limited by the fact that they do not know how exactly to go about. They lack guidance on how to go about it. So I think my next question will be, so how exactly can the young people in Kenya be encouraged to actively participate in democracy? What organizations, what kind of people should be at the forefront in guiding the youth?
I think when it comes to encouraging youth participation in matters of democracy, we have to put them through a lot of like for active participation, then we have to have like more inclusive, like civic education, mentoring programs. Because as you'd said initially, Sally, most of the youths don't know how to go about it. They don't know how to be included into these issues, and I feel like if there were programs that could break it down and pass information and also civic education to basically just inform them that okay, this is what is needed from you, and this is what is expected, and this is what we need. And then on top of it, these platforms can essentially help to amplify the youth voices. If they feel heard, um, if they feel like the active participation is also being involved and it's adding value, then it would be easier for them to want to participate because they've already seen like, okay, we have these different programs and we've been involved in civic education, we have different programs, and so far we feel like we've been mentored as well, and so far we feel like we have the right support. to like join in and also have these discussions, and now we can actively perform or actively commit to matters that are connected to democracy and political issues. I think for me that is what would stand out. So creating basically safe spaces for the youth to feel like they can have ideas or add their ideas onto them, then I think would make them feel a bit more agile and more active when it comes to active participation and encouraging them to actively participate in democracy.
Okay, thank you. So, I think I'd wish to add on that by saying that we have so many non-governmental organizations and so many other civil society organizations, not just in Kenya but in East Africa. And I think they also have a huge role to play when it comes to the youth and democracy, yeah, especially in promoting the participation of the youth in political affairs and matters of the state. So I think they can do more advocacy campaigns, more effective advocacy campaigns, and we can also have retired political figures probably mentoring aspiring youth who want to get into politics. Yeah. So, but the problem with that is sometimes I come across links and posters of advertised, panel discussions where, the experienced want to talk to the youth, they want to tell them how to maneuver this and this and this and this. And then you see that they're actually charging the youth. And most of these forums are online. So you get that you're being charged something like 2,000, or probably I've seen one where people are being charged 5,000 Kenya shillings. And as much as I understand that the, the invited panelists value their time. I feel like despite wherever you are, you also have to, give back to the community, and also in order to get more, to attract a much bigger audience, you also have to make it economical for everyone. Yeah. So I think for me that is something that is worth looking into, and in order to effectively promote the participation of the youth. Yeah. But then, when we talk about now promoting, youth participation in democracy. So, why do you think the youth do not vote?
Sorry?
I remember. Why do you think the youth do not vote? Because I remember during the previous national elections, that is last year, right? Um, the IEBC was actually, posting data and saying that actually the youth are not really not many of them actually registering to vote. We saw a decline in the number of youths that were registering to take part in the elections, and a further decline in the number of youths that actually took part in the elections. Yeah. So why do you think the youth did not even participate in the elections?
I think the fact that the youths feel excluded already, it's a reason for them to feel like they don't want to vote. And then also apart from that, I also believe it's also the mere fact that in Kenya, I think we have this notion where we're like, even if I put in my vote, it's not really going to change anything, not realizing or not actively, realizing that you not voting is going to affect the entire country. So I believe it's also the fact that the youth think voting is preferably for the elderly. They're like, older people should vote. This is their thing. For us, we'll just sit back and relax. And also the notion that, or even if we do vote, it doesn't change anything. Not knowing that you not voting actually, yes, doesn't change anything because you have not put your insights and what leader you preferably believe in. So and then afterwards, you see people saying, "Oh, I didn't vote for this guy. I've never voted." But then again, you had the power to exercise your democracy and your patriotism to your country by voting for a leader you wanted, but you turned it down. So I believe it's just the idea that they don't see like their votes has any input. They already feel excluded. They don't feel like they want to be included in elections. And most of them just actively participate online. That's the farthest they'll go. They're always on their phones, tweeting, texting, waiting for the results, but then again don't want to actively participate to change the results or to input their leader in power. So I think those are some of the reasons that youths actively not participate when it comes to voting.
Okay, that was very insightful. I think I agree with you. I totally agree with you. but I also feel like it maybe comes from a point of hopelessness. Nowadays, you get onto Twitter every day, there's somebody who's being exposed for having, colluded, or so many leaders are being exposed for corruption and all that. And I actually feel like, at times you look at this country and you feel like you can change it with one vote. But I look forward to the 2027 elections, and one thing I'm looking forward to is seeing a rigorous campaign on getting the youth to register and to vote and to take part in the democratic processes, because you look at a country like the United States and you see how even celebrities and they make voting a trending thing, that everybody now wants to go vote and post a picture on Instagram and showing that small badge that you're given once you voted. Yeah, so I'm hoping that that will also happen in Kenya. I know we have a long way to go, but I'm looking forward to seeing a rigorous campaign. I'm looking forward to seeing more organizations, pressuring the youth to register to vote and making them realize that as much as your one vote cannot as much as your one vote is probably a mini fraction of the entire population, it still matters, because at the end of the day, we even saw that the presidential elections, our current president bet his opponent by a small margin of votes. So I think every vote matters, and that shows that we want to talk about is the policies and initiatives we have. Yeah, because when we talk about democracy, we're not talking about the election process as it is on its own only. We're also talking about government bodies. So we have initiatives and policies. We have rules that promote youth participation in democracy, such as in parliament. We have youth representatives in each and every office. Yeah, we have people representing the youth in each and every house. Sorry. So, are there any additional policies that you feel like we can add?
I think majorly, I think representation would be good, like the reserved seats, as you'd mentioned, in legislative bodies. I think also mentorship programs. I also think connecting the youth to leaders who are established, you know, and also funding support to youth-led activities or youth-led programs. I think that would mean a lot to them, and also would have them have input in like these type of spaces when it comes to like the representation. So for me, it's just those few, like the mentorship programs, attaching youths to leaders who can help them. Like we mentioned, the first one you'd mentioned about the legislative bodies creating youth health seats in legislative bodies. I think all these things could matter, because then it makes it like almost compulsory that for that program to work, then the youths need to be there, and that could be like it all. That's how it starts, ensuring that they're present.
I agree. And I recently had a chance to interact with a colleague of mine from Uganda, and he mentioned that he is in the Ugandan Parliament for Youth, and that this particular parliament just meets, I think, once or twice in a year, but it's constituted of purely youth, and we get a chance to debate like normal parliamentarians and propose motions to the actual parliament of Uganda. So I don't know. I think Kenya can borrow a leaflet from what Uganda is doing in regards to that. I'd like to see young student leaders, especially university student leaders, getting a chance to go to parliament and taking part in the lawmaking process. And it's also an inspiration not just to them, but to anybody who also has political ambitions, that there's somewhere they can start from. There's somewhere where there's an avenue somewhere where they can actually get the inspiration and the guidance that they need to build on their political careers. So I want to get into my favorite question. What do you think is the role of technology in, technology and social media? What role do this play in, fostering youth engagement in democracy?
Yeah, so when it comes to technology and social media, they have a very important role to play, especially when you're looking at it in the youth perspective, because this is the generation where they have embraced it as much as you know. So the tools to engage the youth in them, they have when it comes to technology and social media, they have the tools to engage, they have the powerful tools to engage like the youths in democracy. So these platforms can be used to pass information for the youth, to, disseminate, facilitate discussions, and organize movements, basically just offering ways for the youth to voice concerns and influence policies, because a lot of the youth are normally on social media. They spend a lot of their time there. It's a generation that has embraced social media, and it's a generation where social media was also, it was a very, like, technology and social media has risen with the youth that are involved right now. So for them, it's almost like an avenue for them to like voice their opinions, to say what they feel. So I believe that this is the right, sometimes you work with what you have, and if this is what is working for the youth, then it should be the right platform for them to voice their concerns and also influence policies, because we're clearly seeing that they're there mostly. They participate on such spaces mostly. So why not embrace that?
Okay, I hear you. I hear you on that, and I agree because also, um, nowadays, even you can get government services through online platforms, which is a clear testament of the fact that the government is embracing technology. But then the problem is, and I think that's also the biggest problem is this here at Speak Up, is that most people are not interested. Most people do not feel like they need to know everything. Most people are not they're not, how do I put it? Most people are not eager to hold the leaders accountable. Most people are not eager to know what is actually going on in the country, what bills are being proposed in parliament, the social issues that are going on. They're not really eager to, you know, um, they're not eager to contribute, and it's a huge challenge, especially for us here to speak up. I think we can both agree on that. But at the same time, I also feel like there's hope because you've seen how this Israel-Palestine conflict has escalated on social media. That people are actually holding demonstrations via social media. Um, You've seen people calling out Israel, people supporting Palestine, and getting so much traction on social media. You see even the journalists in Palestine actually posting what's happening there on their social media platforms, their personal Instagram handles, and they're getting a lot of traction because people are now, using the digital space. So I'd say it's baby steps. We are making baby steps. I've seen some Kenyans very eager and uh, calling out politicians on social media, especially specifically on Twitter. So I'd say there's hope, but we're getting there. We're getting there. I think probably in like 10 or 20 years we'll be having probably a social revolution happening on the social media. So it will.
Yeah.
I'd say that we're looking ahead to interesting times on that, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I think as we conclude this session, my final area of concern will be how now, because all the youth are not, we are not all equal. Some of us have access to social media platforms, some of us do not. Some of us are privileged enough to have access to information, to not have to spend our times looking for basic needs instead of going to school and learning. So we acknowledge the fact that there are so many marginalized youth groups. We have people who are living in rural areas, or people who are facing socioeconomic challenges and are not adequately represented in government. So how can we ensure that their voices are adequately heard?
Okay, so I believe to ensure like adequate representation, it is crucial that we should have like inclusive policies. For instance, like if target outreach programs and community engagement initiatives, which are just specifically tailored to specific needs of the youth and the marginalized youth, utilizing like community leaders and also local networks to help amplify their voices. So instead of like dealing with it wholesomely or in a holistic approach, how about we just have like inclusive policies that will work with the people or will be tailored to feature the people who are marginalized, the youth who can participate, the youth who do not have the right information, who do not have like social media and technology. So we can just and we can work through their community leaders as well, and and just do like community engagement. So specific needs need specific ways to work on them. So they need to be specific. So that is how we would do it. That is how I would say we should do it. Like we just tailor it to the needs of the marginalized groups and what they specifically want, instead of trying to deal with them like that, like it's in a group setting, and yet these are people who are specifically being excluded for different reasons, like whether it's less access to technology or less access to just information, or even a way far interior in the country that they have no access to it. I think that is how we should deal with it. That's how we should approach it.
Okay, so I think you've exhausted that question. I don't think I have anything else to add. So I think at this point, I think it's safe to say that we have talked about youth and democracy. We did not intend this to be a long conversation because we do not want to bore the audience. But I think people can pick up a point or two on how to, actively now be more active when it comes to democracy, when it comes to, democratic processes and adequate representation of the youth, yeah, in government. So I'd like to thank you for joining the session, and to our followers out there and all our viewers, thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel at Speak Up Africa with a K, and you can also follow us on all our social media platforms at Speak Up Africa with a K. The K is for constant. So yeah, we're all over. We're on Twitter, we are on Instagram, we are on Threads, we are on any social media platform that you can think of. So be sure to follow us even on TikTok, and let's engage more about social issues and issues that affect the youth out here. So thank you so much for tuning in. And Dana, do you have any closing remarks?
Not necessarily. I think we've expounded on what we can, and I am glad for having me.
Okay, sawa. So see you again next week, and happy December to everyone. Bye.
Happy December.